All right, this is a second practice test over Unit 2. That way you get double the practice. Number 1, P of 3 means to put 3 in for x. So it's 5 times 3 to the third plus 7 times 3 squared plus 4 times 3 plus 8. So x represents the number that changes, right? That's why it's called a variable. So this time I want you to put 3 in for x. You type this into the calculator and you get your answer. I've already typed it in for time purposes. I typed it in exactly like I wrote it, 5 times 3 to the third plus 7 times 3 squared plus 4 times 3 plus 8. I didn't use the multiplication sign. I used the little baby parentheses showing that, 4 with nothing in with the 3 there means it's 4 times 3. We hit enter and we get 218. So the answer to this one is 218. Number 2, we want to know the x-intercepts. That's where we set the function equal to 0. Since it's already factored, I don't have to do any work, really. I just have to do 0 product proper t. 5x minus 2 is equal to 0. X minus 3 is equal to 0, and x minus 4 is equal to 0. Now I solved this. So I add the 4 over, and I get x is 4. I add the 3 over, I get x is 3. This one here I have to do like extra work to it. I have to add over the 2, and I get 5x is equal to 2, and then I have to then divide by 5. So I get x is 2 over 5. So I get 2/5, or 0.4 if you actually divide it on the calculator, and then 3, and then 4. So those are the answers for that. Okay, number 3. I paused the video and I copied number 2 right down here so I don't have to keep moving the paper up and down. So it says, what is the leading coefficient, the degree, and the constant value for number 2? So this is number 2. LC stands for leading coefficient. Constant term. The constant term is just the numbers at the end multiplied together. So it's -2 times -3 times -4. If you wanted to, you could like multiply this together and multiply this all out, right? And you could put it in standard form, but we don't really need to for this question. So this times this would be 6, and then 6 times -4. So the constant term is -24 by multiplying these three numbers together. Now the leading term comes from multiplying the first terms together. So this times this times this. So we get 5x times x times x. That's going to be the leading term. So that's the shortcut of just finding the leading term, is you can just glance at it and multiply these first things together. So this times this times this, x times x is cubed. 5 times, there's like invisible ones there, so it's 5x cubed. So the degree, it's a third degree polynomial because when you multiply x's together, 3 of them, you get cubed. So that's the degree. And then the 5 is the leading coefficient. So 5 and 3, and then -24. All right, so write a third degree polynomial with x-intercepts. There's actually infinitely many answers for this, but this would be the easiest one to do. So x-intercepts are x equals 8, x equals 3, and x equals 11. So you just bring these over to the other side of the equation. When you bring this over, you would subtract it over, and you get x minus 8, right? So x minus 8 is the factor, and then x equals 8 is the solution. We've talked about the connection between those many, many times. Okay, so those would be the three factors that would give you these 3 zeros of the function. And then we'll just throw a p of x or an f of x, whichever whatever function you want to call it. If you multiplied it out, it would be in standard form. But we don't need to multiply it out. We just need to know an equation, and that would satisfy it. Now, number 5, we're going to do our polynomial division. We're going to basically take this in standard form, and we're going to break it up into factored form. And I tell you one of the factors. So we're going to go ahead and divide first here. So we get x plus 2. And we get x cubed minus 6x squared minus x plus 30. And then we're going to start off, this times something makes x cubed. So we do x cubed we get x cubed plus 2x squared. Then I pick up the red pen. Why am I picking up the red pen? Because I'm going to, that's right, subtract. So this is -6 and then minus 2 more. So you borrow 6 from your aunt and 6 from your uncle. So that means you owe them 8. So it'd be minus 8x squared. And then minus 12. Minus 12, what am I saying? Minus x. All right, now I need a negative 8 and then an x to make it negative 8x squared. So negative 8x. So this times this is negative 8x squared. Notice how these line up. They're the same. When you subtract it, it's going to cancel out. This times this would be negative 16x. All right. Pick up the red pen because I'm subtracting, which means this is going to be adding and adding. This is now 15x plus 30. And so I just need to make it match. I got the x. I just need a 15. So I get 15x plus 30. When I subtract this, it gets a remainder of 0. I want a remainder of 0 because this is how it factors. So then I say, okay, x plus 2, that's the divisor, and then the quotient is x squared minus 8x plus 15, and that's p of x. Then I break it up again. P of x is equal to x plus 2, and then factor, 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 factor. So we're trying to break it up into its linear factors. Once you have linear factors, then you can set each factor equal to 0 to solve it, right? And that's what happened in question number 3. No, question number 2 is when you have linear factors, you just set each one equal to 0. So this is like a process of solving this, would be to break it up into its linear factors. 3 and 5 multiplied together make 15. 3 and 5 multiplied together make 8. So it's 3 and 5. So there it is. Ba-boom. Now we're going to solve by factoring. So we're going to set it equal to 0 because we want the x-intercepts where the function is equal to 0. X and x. 13 is a prime number, so it's just 13 and 1. And it has to be 2 negatives because a negative times a negative is positive, and a negative with another negative would make it a bigger negative, negative 14. So Officer Burnett half donut trick helps you to figure out the answer. 0 product proper t. So we get x is 1. We've done this 100 times. X is 13. Right? So add it over, add it over. So this, you factor, you set factors equal to 0. Here would be a process of breaking it up so that you could set the factors equal to 0, but it doesn't say to. And in this problem here, it was factored, and we set the factors equal to 0 to find these zeros of the function. All right. So x is going to get larger and larger in number. So this is going to be like, we'll say x is 10 million. Okay? Well, 6 divided by 10 million is basically 0. So this is headed to 0. Right? So we take 6 pizzas, divide them amongst 10 million people, you basically have no pizza. So what's left over? 10. So what happens to the function? It goes to 10. Right? So it becomes 10. So because 6 divided by a huge number is basically 0, so the function heads to 10. That's important. That's the horizontal asymptote. So that levels off at 10. So you can say it goes to 10, it levels off at 10. The horizontal asymptote is 10. Anything like that. Okay, the vertical asymptote is where the bottom is equal to 0 because you can't divide by 0. So what makes this 0? Well, if you subtract the 3 over, you get x is equal to negative 3. So x equals negative 3. Negative 3 plus 3 makes it 0. So x equals negative 3 is the vertical asymptote. Okay, x equals negative 3. It's a vertical boundary. So if you were to graph this at 1, 2, 3, negative, there's going to be an invisible boundary, right? On this one, since it goes to 10, y equals 10 is the horizontal asymptote, right? So it levels off at 10. So if you were to graph this, if you had 10, right, y equals 10 is a horizontal line, it would level off there. You can take your calculator and type them in there and see that it will come down and level off at 10. Number 9, we are cross multiplying because that's how we solve proportions. Ba-boom, ba-boom. Love our binomials. We hug them. So it's 7x minus 1, 2x plus 2. All right, so we have our binomials here, and we cross multiplied, and now we have to distribute. See, we have to multiply 7 times x and 7 times the negative 1 there. So that's why we put our binomials in parentheses, because that has to happen before you divide. So these parentheses are assumed to be there. So distribute, 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 distribute. So I get 7x minus 7 is equal to 2x plus 4. All right, so we're going to get the x's on the same side. Minus 2x minus 2x. So we get 7x minus 7 is equal to 4. Add the 7 over. So we get 5x is equal to 11. All right, so we got the x's on one side, numbers on the other. Then I'm going to divide by 5 to get x by itself. So 11 divided by 5, divide on the calculator, 2.2, or you could leave the fraction 11/5. Or if you want to get wild and crazy, you could say 2 1/5. Right? Any of those answers are fine. Okay, the last question involves the formula that we learned at the end of the unit. And it is a times 1 minus r to the n power over 1 minus r, and that's the sum of a geometric it's a sum of a geometric series. So A is your starting amount. We're starting off with $1,200, and then we keep multiplying by 1.04 because it's 4% more. So it's 1 minus 1.04 to the 25th power because we're doing this for 25 years. And then it's 1 minus 1.04. Put that in parentheses because that's going to be, that's why you have to type it in the calculator. Remember, hug your binomial. All right. So we type that into the calculator and we get an answer. That's about it. So we're putting $1,200 at the beginning of the year, all at once. So it's like $1,200 is like $100 a month. So we put $1,200 in, and then at the beginning of the next year, put another $1,200 in, and another $1,200, and another $1,200. So after 25 years, 4% interest, you're going to have a significant amount of money. So if we did $1,200 times 25 years, that's $30,000. But because of the fact that we're getting interest, we're going to get more than $30,000. So 1 minus 1.04 to the power of 25, push myself forward, and then divided by, left parenthesis, 1 minus 1.04. And it has to be 1.04 because money goes up, right? So it has to be, the R factor has to be greater than 1. If it was just 0.04, that means we'd be going down 96%, and I don't want to do that. I want to go up 4%. Enter. So $49,000 compared to $30,000 is, what you're getting by getting that interest. Basically, interest is people paying you money to use your money. Right? They're renting your money until you're ready to get it. Okay, and 9 cents because I rounded to the penny. And that is the second practice test.